Introducing a new technology layering engine for broadcast, live venues, and presentations. Multi-lane keying and mixed effects with an extraordinary intuitive iPad interface. New from Ensemble Designs.
Hi, I'm Mike Grotticelli with Broadcast Engineering Magazine and Broadcast Engineering Online. I'm here today with Mark Aitken, Vice President of Advanced Technology for the Sinclair Broadcast Group. Now you guys, if I'm right, you own 74 stations in 40 markets of the country?
45 markets.
45 markets of the country.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of stations, a lot of different affiliates, a lot of different...
Yeah, it's a lot of organizing, as a company we do a lot of centralization around some of the core common products, graphics, and...
So you try to find common platforms that you can go across some of the stations?
Yeah, exactly. And when you bring in new stations into the fold, so to speak, like the most recent acquisitions, a good deal of time gets spent in making that happen in a useful way that's not disruptive to very successful markets. And a lot of that focus has been on news operations and and the impact there.
Sure. Now, from what I understand, among the stations, not all of them are digital, or I should say they're all digital, but not all of them are high definition all the time. Is that correct?
Yeah, and actually, in a certain sense, some of them aren't even digital. If you take into account low power and repeater operations, what we found, for example, in Salt Lake City is a great example where 30% of the market is covered. It's not outside of the sort of Longley Rice OET 69 definition of coverage, but it actually extends beyond the entire state.
Right.
And so you have communities continuing to be served in analog, but largely speaking, all of our stations are outputting HD. But probably the single nut yet to be cracked is the syndicated content. As it comes to us, more and more of it increasingly is in HD, but there is a lot of content that's not made its way through that process because there's a lot of work in sort of remastering old film content to HD.
Sure. So if you had to pick some of the challenges of moving to HD for someone like you, what are some of those challenges?
It's really balancing the dollars being spent against the very different markets that we're in. When you're in market 141 and the total dollars coming out of that market in terms of advertising dollars across 6 stations is $18 million. There's not a lot of revenue that drives those operations. So you got to keep on balance with respect to the dollars spent in play-out facilities, cameras, and things of that sort. So they're not challenges that are foreboding, but I can tell you Del Parks, who's our VP of operations for the station engineering, he's probably the busiest guy in this industry.
And has been for the last 5 years, probably.
He's been very busy.
Right. Now we'll move on to mobile DTV, which is kind of getting off the ground, quote unquote. You're involved with the Mobile 500 group, right? You're one of the lead vice chairman, is that right?
Yeah, I'm on the executive committee and represent the technology issues inside of the alliance.
So can you give us an update? How's that going? We keep hearing that something's going to happen by the end of this year, but there's no set date. What's exactly happening?
Well, I mean, you keep hearing that from all groups involved, and all broadcasters involved, and it's just been a very strained situation, encumbered by issues with respect to network rights issues.
Yes, exactly.
An unwillingness of some broadcasters to tie themselves up with a network, in effect giving them the keys to the car, so to speak,
right?
In order to be able to broadcast that content. But with the recent announcements by CBS and ABC for both the Mobile 500 and MCV, I think that there's a...
What is that announcement?
Well, the announcement CBS has now got 4 stations that are being brought online for mobile services.
Okay.
And ABC is opening that opportunity up for its affiliates.
Right.
So that side of the equation is I think is opening up due to a lot of pressure and a lot of perceived understanding that that mobile is one of those great uses for broadcast television.
Sure.
That provides a rational reason for broadcasters to maintain spectrum ownership. I guess the other challenges have been the challenges of getting chips into devices, and you know, we hear that MCV has got a phone being launched. It's yet to be launched. That announcement was made quite a while ago.
That was with PCS, Sprint.
Right, yeah. Metro PCS.
Metro PS, exactly.
And you know, M500 and MCV are both offering dongles for iOS, you know, Apple iOS devices, and that side of the equation has moved forward quickly.
Okay.
We've got a few on both sides. You know, we have questions relative to indoor versus outdoor reception possibilities.
Sure.
And implementation issues, and quite honestly, they're to be expected given that 3 years after a standard's been issued, we don't have a mass, you know, a mass penetration of devices to learn from.
Right.
So getting chips into a variety of devices is proven to be next to impossible. You've got a major cost impact as a function of that. You know, it's not an unknown fact that the ATSC standard is fundamentally different than the other wireless standards that are out there. So
correct. It's
not like you can just put it into a corner of a die and you know, and sort of glom it onto something else.
Right.
But that's one of the reasons outside of MCV, Mobile 500, OMVC, or any other organization.
The Pearl Group.
Yeah, we've been working throughout the industry to generate an understanding that this might be the opportune time to investigate the development of a new terrestrial standard for broadcasters that puts us on a competitive platform. Because the real issue I think that broadcasters have in mobile is that openly you've got the wireless phone providers not only going after our spectrum, but going after our business. And
sure.
I don't know if you were in the session yesterday. Peggy from Qualcomm had done a half-hour presentation and closed up saying, we're going into the broadcast business. So broadcasters might just start thinking about just giving their content to the phone companies as a means of mobile carriage. And that's very much against the grain of foundational elements of who we are as an industry,
right.
Which is we're broadcasters and we transport bits into the hands of consumers. And I think Gordon Smith in his opening speech really struck it right. And I don't have the exact words, but yesterday ubiquity meant a television set in every living room of America. Today, to be ubiquitous, you need to be, with all people in all places at all times on all devices.
Right.
And we've fallen short of that mark. We've had constraints, regulatory constraints and technical constraints, but I think there's a lot of rethinking going on about advancing the industry.
Great, great. Speaking of Qualcomm, people like the wireless industry are looking to take spectrum from broadcasters. They're going to buy it at an auction, basically. Some people say big station owners like Sinclair and others perhaps might say that it might be more valuable to sell some of that spectrum.
We got zero spectrum to put into an auction.
Okay.
I mean, and I believe as an industry what you will find is that we find it incredible to believe the chairman of the FCC when he says his phone's ringing off the hook with broadcasters who want to participate in an auction.
Right.
Our nearest estimate is that you may have a handful or two of broadcasters in stress situations that would put them on the road of thinking of that.
Right.
At the same time, I think long before that happens, that as an industry, the next 12, 18 months, you may have some broadcast properties that are switching hands and coming into the hands of broadcasters that are willing to invest and invest big into those broadcast operations. So I don't see any way that that more than a handful or two of broadcasters ever go to auction. And the other side of that is that when you begin thinking about what we could be doing with a new standard, if we had a platform that was truly competitive with the wireless providers, the economic opportunities for broadcasting as an industry is just it's overwhelming. We did an economic analysis with an outside firm that basically pegged that in every market America, the revenues that are driven in those markets could double over a period of 3 to 5 years based on a new standard and the opportunities opened by it.
You mentioned that if we had a correct platform, do you feel that the ATSC is the correct platform? Would perhaps need some kind of augmentation of it, or perhaps some?
Well, it's no secret that ATSC is looking at non-backwards compatible technologies, and it's a ATSC 3.0 activity.
Correct.
I've been involved in that activity, as have many other leaders in the industry, and
it would be a world standard, though, as well.
Well, there's two sides of that. I mean, the ATSC 3.0 is about what would a U.S. standard look like.
Okay.
What are the requirements for those standards? This FOB TV, as you call it, the future of broadcast television, which is global in its nature, is I don't see in my lifetime a global single standard, but I do see a global framework where global standards come together in such a way, and with sort of the moving parts that allow standards on nations which have very, very different needs, to leverage the same core technologies to provide efficiency, to provide extensibility of that platform beyond the traditional view of what terrestrial broadcasting can do, and I think that all those are worthwhile efforts. But at the same time, I think you will find over the coming months that as an industry there will be an engagement because there's a time constraint here. Every day that goes by, the wireless industry propels itself into more and more devices with more and more capabilities, and we have to tackle it. We just got to sort of suck up and deal with it.
So is the future bright for broadcasting, would you say?
I think it's enormously bright. I think the fact that Sinclair is an example of that over the last half year has gone out and acquired two groups, and if you talk to anybody within Freedom and 4 Points, the organizations that we bought and are now ours, have cleared all encumbrances. They will tell you that there's a fabulous investment being made by Sinclair, and I think that sort of view is true for most any broadcaster who wants to seize the moment and seize the opportunity. And I would say that the other piece of that that's very important is news. In those acquisitions, we've doubled our news presence in markets. With the decline of the newspaper industry, we take very seriously the role we play in the local marketplace and local communities, because we're talking about local broadcasting.
Right.
We take very seriously the notion that there's got to be a watchdog and good solid journalism, willing to confront government, industry, and others who have an impact on communities and our daily life and question what's going on. I think that that independence on the part of local broadcasting, the ability to have that strong voice that gets lifted above sort of the the noise of the internet and the blogosphere and everything else. I think that that's really an important aspect of what we do, and that sort of, I'll close it by saying, at the same time, while legislatively high-powered broadcasters have gotten, because of tremendous efforts by the NAB, the gut level protections required, which lead to great frustration on the part of the chairman of the FCC.
Right.
At the same time, we now have to work to extend that, cohesive notion of the low power industry and what it provides. So,
great.
All of broadcasting, great place to be.
Great. Well, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. I just want to mention, finally, you have a great blog that you've been doing. What can we read that blog? It's all about these issues that we just talked about.
Yeah, it's Mr. DTV, MISTER DTV .wordpress.com, and I've been trying to. I've extended outside of work what I've been doing for many years, which is taking many pieces of the puzzle from other industries totally outside of ours, but that have technologies and capabilities and ideas that can greatly influence what we do. And I've just sort of brought those together as a way for people to get a view of the world that I've been looking at for the last several years. And people may say, well, where's that idea come from? I mean, how do you put that picture together? Well, it's a mosaic. And so, Mr. DTV, that blog is really aimed at giving people access to the same big chunks, if you will, of news and development and technology that I think can shape our whole industry's vision of what's possible for broadcasting. I may be the most optimistic guy beside David Smith, our president and CEO, but we're optimistic because we see just huge opportunities.
Great. Thank you very much.